Okay, my top 10 blues licks. I will play them all in the key of A, and I will explain how I play them in detail and how you can use them in different ways, you know, how you can vary the rhythm. And also, I will play them, most of them at least, I will play them in this position from the 5th fret to the 8th fret. The first lick I got from Stevie Ray Vaughan, and it sounds like this. So it's in the key of A, and it's in this position and this minor pentatonic scale, A minor pentatonic scale. I do add this note, the flat 5th. So that would mean the lick is based on the A blues scale. Let's try to play this lick over a blues backing track in the key of A. You can play this lick over the 1 chord, the 4 chord, and the 5 chord in a 12 bar blues progression. Okay, let's try this. So I did play the lick over the 1 chord and the 4 chord. So the lick starts on the 7th fret on the D string, and then I play these 2 notes. I pluck them with my fingers, adding my ring finger to the 7th fret on the G string. After that, I add my pinky here on the 8th fret, and at the same time I pluck the 5th fret on the E string also, and I do pull-offs here. And then I play the 5th fret on the G string and a little quarter note bend. And here's the variation of that same lick 1 octave down. It sounds something like this. The difference here is when I move up with my ring finger here to the flat 5th, like we did here, you know, this note. But when I play it 1 octave down, and I move up here with my pinky to the flat 5th, I also move up with my index finger here to the flat 9 of A. If I would do that here in the first position, it would sound something like this. So I like to play something like. So my right hand technique, first I play a downstroke, then I pluck these 2 strings here, the G and E string. And a downstroke, the last note. And kind of the same thing when I play the lick 1 octave down. You could play the lick just with your fingers. It's good to learn how to place your pick here between your fingers, and then just use your fingers here. The next lick is a bend lick, I guess, and it's still in the key of A, but it's in another position. So it's in this pentatonic box or shape, whatever you want to call it. And it sounds like this. 1, 2, 3. Something like that. You can vary the rhythm here however you want. The thing about this lick, I guess, is the bend, you know, so that. I bend up this note here, the 10th fret, a whole step. And after that I release it a half step. So it's like you're playing from the 12th fret to the 11th fret to the 10th fret. So it's a chromatic little run there. And you can play it one octave down. So instead of playing, you bend it. And then you can end with this note here, the minor third, and you bend that note a little bit, a tiny bit, and then end on the root. Let's try to play that over a blues backing track. So you can bend that note one whole step, go down a half step, and you pluck the string again, and then you release the string all the way down, pluck the string again. But I guess I like to just pluck or pick the string one time, and then I'll just release the string without actually picking the string. So you can either play like this or like this. Or like. The next lick has some triplets in it, and I guess it's a little cute fast run. It sounds something like this. I bend this note a little bit, a tiny bit, but at the same time I also play this note here. Just that little thing is kind of cool. Anyway, so I play those two notes and then I play these triplets. I guess the scale it's based on is A minor pentatonic, but with the 6 added, which is this note. You can play this lick over both the 1 chord and the 4 chord. You could also try to play it over the 5 chord. In the key of A, the 5 chord would be E7. It should work also, as long as your phrasing is good and tasty. Let's try this lick over a blues backing track again in the key of A. And then a downstroke again on the G string. And an upstroke here on the D string. The next lick works really great over the 4 chord in the key of A. So you have A to D7. So this lick works great over D7. It has some chords in it. It sounds something like this. So it starts with a D9 chord. First I strum every note here from the 5th string. And then I just strum the top 3 notes. And after that I slide up to the 7th fret. I strum the top 3 strings here 2 times. And then the second time I slide up to the 7th fret here. And then I play this lick. Index finger here barring the top 3 strings on the 7th fret. And then I hammer on with my middle finger here on the 8th fret and the ring finger on the 9th fret. This is, by the way, D9 voicing. This is the 9. This is the major 3rd and this is the flat 7. And then back to the 7th fret here with my index finger. And then I play this chord here. Also a D9 voicing. This is the flat 7. This is the 9 here again. The major 3rd and the root here, D. And I end the lick on A7. So. Works really great over the 4 chord here in the key of A. So a blues progression in the key of A. You have A7 and then you go to D7. That's when you can play this lick. This lick works perfectly if you're playing rhythm guitar and you want to add that little extra to your playing, you know. Let's say you're coming from the turnaround, so you're on the 5 chord and then you're gonna go back to the 1 chord and then the 4 chord. It could sound something like Great, let's try that one more time. Now let's try it over backing track. About my right hand technique for this lick, everything is with downstrokes. So everything with downstrokes. Next lick is a bend lick in the usual position here, the 5th position. But I do add the flat 5th, you know, in the lick in the scale. So that would be the blues scale. The lick sounds like this. Sometimes the lick sounds a little bit out of tune, I guess, but it doesn't matter for me. It's the vibe here that's important. I bend this note here, the 8th fret, one whole step. Then I grab the G string. So I bend with my pinky here, you could bend with your ring finger. And then I'm gonna grab the G string. And then I release it. I guess that's when it sounds a little bit out of tune here, when you're not playing it over backing track or without other phrases, you know, the lick sounds weird, I guess. But when you actually play this lick in a song, in relation to other phrases, I think it sounds awesome. One important thing about this lick is how I pick. First I pick with a downstroke. I bend the string. Sometimes I pick from the E string here and I mute the E, A, D and G string. And then when I come to the B string, I let it ring. The important thing is you pick the B string with the downstroke, then you obviously bend the string. Then I'm gonna pick the G string here, but at the same time I mute the B string with my finger here. Otherwise it sounds like this. that can be cool also, to make the notes ring together. But generally, I place my finger on the B string, so they don't ring together. But, as I said, you don't need to do that. It would sound something like... Sounds pretty cool still, I think, without placing your finger here on the B string. The next lick sounds something like this. So it's in this position here. Still in the key of A. And it's the blues scale, the A minor blues scale. So first I pluck these two notes at the same time with my fingers. And then I add the blues note here, the flat 5. Still plucking, I don't use my picker. And then I do a pull off with my middle finger here back to the index finger. Letting this note, the A note here, ringing all the time. And then I pluck this note with my pick, the 5th fret here on the G string. That's kind of the lick, I think. And then you can end the lick however you want. You could play the root here, for example. You can vary the rhythm however you want. You can add triplets and add triplets. So with the triplets, it would sound something like this. And you could play the lick also here in this position. Let's try this lick now over the backing track. Alright, so I pick like this. These two fingers on the E and B string. So these two fingers is on the E and B string all the time. And then when I switch to the G string, I use my pick. This lick has some Stevie Ray Vaughan vibes over it, and it sounds something like this. Over a backing track in the key of A flat, it sounds something like this. back to the key of A. I start the lick with bending the 7th fret on the G string. You can bend it 1 whole step or a half step. And then I pluck the 5th fret on the B string and 5th fret on the E string. And this is a downstroke. Then I pluck with my middle finger. So pick, middle finger, and then this note here, that's with a pick. Upstroke here on the 8th fret, and a pull off to the 5th fret. And then downstroke here on the 7th fret on the E string. Then an upstroke on the 5th fret here on the E string, and I do this hammer on and pull off to the 6th fret and back. And then I do a downstroke here on the 8th fret on the B string. And then I play with my middle finger again on the 5th fret on the E string. After the 5th fret here on the E string with my middle finger, I play a downstroke here again on the 8th fret on the B string. An upstroke here on the 5th fret on the B string. And then a downstroke on the 7th fret on the G string, and I do slide up to the 8th fret. Back to the 7th fret. All downstrokes. After the slide here, I do an upstroke on the 7th fret. So down and up. And then 2 downstrokes on the 5th fret, a bar here on the G and B string, and I do a hammer on to the 6th fret. And then a downstroke again on the 7th fret on the D string. Upstroke on the 5th fret. Downstroke on the 7th fret on the A string. Upstroke on the 6th fret. Downstroke on the 5th fret. And upstroke on the 8th fret on the E string, sliding up to the 9th fret. Here you can see in detail how I play it. So, downstroke, bending, middle finger on B string, downstroke on E string, upstroke on the 8th fret on the B string, and I pull off to the 5th fret, downstroke again on the 7th fret on E string, upstroke on the 5th fret on the E string, hammer on to 6th fret, pull off, back to the 5th fret. Downstroke on 8th fret on B string. Upstroke on the 5th fret on the B string. Downstroke on the G string on the 7th fret, sliding up to the 8th fret. After the slide, I do an upstroke on the 7th fret on the G string. Then 2 downstrokes on the 5th fret on the B and G string, and I do a hammer on to the 6th fret on the G string. Downstroke on the 7th fret on the D string, and then an upstroke on the 5th fret on the D string. Downstroke on the 7th fret on the A string, upstroke, 6th fret, downstroke, 5th fret, switching string to the 8th fret of the E string, sliding up to the 9th fret. The next lick sounds something like this. It works perfect over the A chord. You can play it also over the D chord, but then you have to switch position up here to the 10th fret. Anyway, I start with playing the root here, a downstroke on the D string, the 7th fret. Then I pluck the 7th fret here on the B and G string with my middle and ring finger. Then back to the root again. And I pick that with a downstroke. So downstroke, pluck, then downstroke. And this is triplets. And then I pluck the B and G string here on the 5th fret with my 2 fingers here, and then a hammer onto the 6th fret. So the lick sounds something like 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Slow. 1, 2, 3. So let's try this over the 1 chord, the A chord, in a backing track. So here's how I pick this lick. Downstroke, then middle and ring finger, pick again, downstroke, these 2 fingers again on the 5th fret on the B and G string, hammer onto the 6th fret. That's the lick, I guess. Then you can end it however you want. The next lick in the key of A, again, works perfect over the 1 chord, so that would be A7. And it sounds something like this. Over a backing track, it would sound something like this. it looks like this. Downstroke, upstroke, then upstroke on the 7th fret here on the A string, downstroke on the 5th fret, upstroke on the 8th fret on the E string, sliding up to the 9th fret. The last lick is a bend lick, I guess. It's not necessarily a lick, I guess. It's more of a concept. And that is, I bend one note, for example this note here, in the key of A here again, so we have this scale. So I could bend this note, whole step. And then I do these tiny, tiny bends. But you could do that on whichever note that you bend. But I think I usually do this when I bend the 4th and bend it up to the 5th. So this is the 4th of A, and I bend it up to the 5th. How does that sound over a backing track? Well, let's try it. When I do this lick, it's kind of simple. In the right hand here, I just play up and down, up and down. So down, and then release the bend a little bit and you do an upstroke. And then up again, release. So I guess when I do that upstroke, that's when I'm releasing the string a little bit. And the downstrokes, that's when I bend the string. That was my top 10 blues licks. I use these licks a lot in my guitar playing. So listen to my blues etudes that you can find on my Patreon page. And I think you will see these licks here and there. Yeah, that's a guarantee. Yeah, I hope you liked them and that you learned something from this. Bye!